So I'm originally from California, from LA. It's a very hippie type laid back area. And I think a lot of times people can be like that with their emotions as well. So my high school growing up, you had your cliques and, everybody was kind of cool, too cool for school. So I actually began writing as like a form of therapy. There was this spot called The Lounge with a D-A Lounge. And every Tuesday night, they had first round, second round. So we used to go there after Bible study every Tuesday night, me and my friend. And when I first started going, I really didn't know a lot about performance poetry at all. But it was so exciting. Like, I just became addicted to it right away. So after going for a while, I began writing myself. And for me, it was more therapy than it was anything. For me, I just really couldn't get what I wanted to say out in plain language. It was very difficult for me to do that. And I just found like doing it in a way that was artful and creative was so much easier for me. Like I felt like I was connecting with what I was saying. And not only was I connecting with it, but people could kind of share in what I was saying, and I just fell in love with it from that moment on. So I've kind of been doing it ever since, but I wasn't always that great at it. So that's a little bit about like how that kind of started, but yeah, so from Cali to here just kind of came with me. I grew up in the church, so my natural inclination was to write about things that I know. I'd never done a poem about something that I just knew nothing about. All of my poetry is based on my own personal experience, and God is just all in throughout there. I didn't know at first that it was going to be like a ministry. Well, first of all, I didn't know that it was going to turn into what it is now, as like me being on a stage in front of people presenting this art, and that people would actually like it. I just wrote because I had something to say and because I needed to get it out. It wasn't until probably like maybe a year or 8 months to a year in where I immediately was like, okay, this is like a higher sort of calling for me to really reach people for Christ. Christ was such an intricate part of my life, so it was natural for it to come out in my writing. It wasn't something that I planned purposefully, but people responded to that portion, and then it kind of created a niche for me inside the church, even in the secular realm, but I was speaking to people whose hearts resonated with the gospel. So I kind of knew a little bit after I started actually performing, because first I was writing and then I started actually, I got up the nerve to actually get on stage and perform, which the first time was disastrous. I was like shaking like a leaf. But after the first few times that I did that, I was like, oh, this is a ministry. People started to pay attention. And then I just felt inclined to write about what I knew. And I knew about like God. I knew about the saving grace of Christ. So it became really easy for me to do that. And people responded well to that. So I say just a little bit after I started actually performing spoken word, but it's always like been with me. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I represent that portion, but it's just life for me. Like, it's not purposefully done, you know? A lot of poets, and I think a lot of poets can relate to me in this vein. Some of them can't, because some of them are natural born memorizers. Like, you could just know some poets don't even write down their pieces and they could get on stage and just go. I know a few awesome artists like that, but I'm not that artist. I definitely do need to memorize my piece. I definitely do need to repeat it in order to make it excellent when it's presented before people. And I think sometimes that's lost among performers. I think sometimes we can be even though we have a gift, we can be very like lazy in our craft. And there was a period of time, I never really had like a writer's block. A lot of people experience that, but I have had times when it was difficult for me to memorize, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe there was so many things going on in my brain that I just had so much hard time memorizing my pieces, so it would take me longer. And that was like maybe 6 months ago. Like, it was a stint of like 3 months where I could hardly memorize my pieces. Very, very difficult for me, because I would get on stages and then I literally got on stage one time at this event at Busboys and Poets, and I forgot my entire piece. Like, I just it just left. Like it wasn't that I didn't know it, and I had done this piece before, and I just forgot the entire piece. So that was kind of traumatizing for me, but I kept my cool. I always tell people who do poetry, like, if you forget something, just stand there until you remember it. Like, the audience will wait for you. So that's what I did. And I didn't remember all of it, but I got back on track eventually. And I was really proud of myself afterwards. But those are the only times that I consider lows, because I do what I love. And I love doing this. But when I can't do it in excellence to the way I want to do it, then I would consider that a low. So I just want to give a quick shout out to all the artists, all the poets, all the writers. Definitely do not get discouraged in your well-doing. If you're writing, if you want to be a poet, if you want to perform and do spoken word, keep going, keep writing. Don't let anyone tell you that your writing is not good. Listen to the advice that people give you, but stay true to who you are, because you never know how God can elevate that. I wasn't very good the first time I stepped on the stage, and then I went home and gave myself a pep talk, and the Lord has brought me so far. So I definitely got love for anybody who writes. Poetry is amazing. You have no idea how many people's lives you're touching when you share the message and the story that God has given you. So I love what I do, and I love all of you guys. Definitely keep doing what you're doing, and don't let anyone stand in your way unless it's God himself.